everywhere. Yeah, and if there's an opportunity one day, if to speak to people that have got more power to make it happen, even in the rural areas, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind being given that project to say, right, I'm not interested in the money
so much. Saudi said the same thing exactly. I'm sure, but he said to us like, no, I
need someone who has got. You need to have interest in these things. Maybe if I had no interest in euduroam, by the way, there possibly would not have been euduroam in airports by now, because I would have just continued with my work here at Wits, and that's it. But
hello guys, welcome to Marcelo Simon show. Today we have an incredible guest, a man who has done a lot in his life and who's still doing a lot. So today we have an honor to be joined by Dr. Stanley Mpofu, who works here at Wits. A lot you will hear from himself. I don't want to mess up trying to introduce himself in a way that won't give him satisfaction. Help me to welcome Dr. Stanley Mpofu. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you very much.
I'm fine. Say, you have done a lot, and looking back to where you have started at Eskom.
I started in Datavia.
Datavia.
It was an IT division of Transnet.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I started before I joined Eskom.
Then you moved from Transnet to Eskom.
Then I moved from Transnet to Eskom, and then I moved from Eskom to Wits.
At Transnet, what project were you busy with?
Well, I joined Datavia. It was an IT division of Transnet. Mm-hmm. So I joined them as a programmer, a developer, the old COBOL days. And then I became a technician. And by the time I left, I was a network administrator, it was about in a period of about 8 years.
Then when Eskom spotted you, you joined it under internship?
No. Initially what happened was I was assigned to go and look after Eskom as a technician from Datavia. Yes, yes. It was now called Arivia.com after the combination of Eskom IT, Transnet IT, and Denel IT. It was now called Arivia.com. And whilst I was there, an opportunity, I'd already started studying towards project management. So an opportunity arose at Eskom where there was an advert for a project manager, and I applied and I got the job. And then I left my other previous job.
How many years you have been working at Eskom?
I then worked for Eskom for 15 years.
15 years.
Yes.
So the issues of Eskom and load shedding, they started when you were still there?
Not really, because I left. To some extent, I would say yes. But when I joined, Eskom was a top utility in the world. But I think maybe issues of load shedding may have started in the late 2000s, I think, when I was still in Eskom, and possibly at the time when I was promoted to be an executive. And I think, but those issues developed due to many other issues related to that. So some issues could have been these are things in the public domain, and I'm not talking as on behalf of Eskom. I'm just talking about things that are in the public domain. Like there was a time, I think in the late 90s, when there was a paper to government to say we're not going to be able to supply the demand. When South Africa became a democracy, and I think government didn't do anything about it. That's in the public domain, and as a result, it had some constraints along the way, because as more people wanted electricity, which should have been taken care of in the late 90s by building maybe more power stations, that didn't happen. And as a result, it did affect the demand. And as a result, load shedding became part of it.
But back then, just to wrap the Eskom issue, back then when this issue started and when you were still there, there were like plans in place to try and address them because it was still the beginning of things. I think by then it would have been like much easier to prepare and plan, because many people are saying during apartheid not so many black people had access to electricity, and now when the democracy came, so many people had like an access to electricity, which increased the demand, and the power stations that were built then were built to supply a certain number of people. So when you were still there, and this issue to say now people like demanding electricity and we can't supply for everyone, there were plans in place to try and address that.
Yes, that's what I was referring to, that the ESCOM people, because I had not joined the ESCOM by then in the late 90s, but there was a request to government to say, look, we are going to run short of supply because of the numbers that are now on board. But I think at that point, government's response was not positive. They only realized later that they should have actually taken that request in a different way.
I know, say you are an expert when it comes to IT and everything, but as a man who's educated like yourself, the Mpofu, when you look at things, I think you do have your own view. What is your take on the issue of having the green energy that they talk about it, like they always talk about like transitioning to just energy. What is your issue with that? I mean, what is your take when it comes to that? Should we continue with coal, or should we transition to what other worlds are recommending us to transition to?
I'm not going to talk as an expert of that field,
Yes,
because
yes.
that's not necessarily an IT space. But in my own personal capacity, my thinking is there has to be a balance, and the balance created by the fact that if you look at, let's say, minerals, whether it's coal, the question is, are we going to have coal for the next 100 years? Is it going to be available? Are we going to be able to dig the ground and get all the coal and be able to supply it and create the necessary electricity that is required? But on the other end, the question also is technology is changing drastically and very fast. What if at that maybe 20 years from now, there will be no need to generate electricity through coal, but maybe through other, in other words, digging coal, but maybe through other forms of generating electricity, whether using heat and maybe heating coal underground without taking it out or something. We don't know. So I look at that and think that there will be a time when technological advancement may require that maybe the current methods of generating electricity would have changed. I'm talking about the current coal way of generating use of coal to generate electricity. But I also am cognizant of the fact that 100 years from today, when probably I won't be around, I don't want my grandkids to think that we left them a world that had no trees, a world that had climate issues, because of the way we handled what naturally God put on earth. Because God put all of these things on earth for a reason. So if we find ourselves in a space where we can have an opportunity, whether one is talking nuclear, whether one is talking solar panels or wind, whatever generation of electricity, whether it's hydro, if those things can be done without damaging the environment, if those things don't damage the environment, I think we would love our grandkids or great-grandkids to come into a world where there's enough oxygen. We didn't finish all the trees and then there's no oxygen.
Yes.
And you want the climate to be normal for them as well. Because I think we all found the place that our grandparents didn't damage much. We possibly, from the people who were born in the 1950s until now, I think are the people who have been damaging the world with their probably focus on quick wins and forgetting what are the implications on the environment. So if I look at it from that point of view, I would think you also need to start thinking of generating using other means that do not damage the environment. That's what I would say.
Dr. Mpofu, you are the Chief Information Officer here at Wits.
Yes.
Can say the overseer of the IT here at Wits, the one who comes with plans on how to run ICT here at Wits, the one who comes with changes, how to improve the ICT here at Wits. And I read somewhere online, I don't know how far true it is, it said by the time you came here at Wits, the ICT has so many challenges. And when you came, you improved the system and everything. What was your first impression, or maybe first thing that you had in mind when you got the job to be the Chief Information Officer here?
Can I go back a bit?
Yes, you can.
I'm also a student of Wits. So when I was a student, I never realized what mess was on the IT side until I got here as an employee. That's when I really got to understand what was going on. But the major issue that I found in ICT was, and I came from corporate, so we used to run IT the right way, best practice. What I found was there was no best practice that was happening. And there were so many gaps, and the users were not happy at all with what was going on. There were no changes. People were comfortable with whatever they were doing then. And as a result, I had to look at what I found, and I put across what I wanted to do, and presented it to the VC and his set team, and they were happy with the direction I wanted to take. And it was a completely different direction from what I found.
Who was the VC by then?
Prof. Adam Habib. Yes.
You had a good relationship with him?
Yes, even up to now. I have a very good, solid, professional and probably friendly relationship with him. Even up to now we talk and I think it was all based on the fact that I was not a person who was afraid of expressing what I think was right for the good of the university. And I think he observed that quickly in our relationship or in my career here, because he would call me, he would phone me my office and say, "Are you in the office?" "Yes, I'm in the office. Can we come here for a chat?" And I would go up to the 11th floor, sit in his office, and then you ask me things, and you even ask me, "What is bothering you? What support do you require?" And I would gladly share with him my thoughts without fear.
So you said when you were a student, you never noticed anything wrong at ICT. But now when you got to be an employee, that's when you spotted some of the glitches there and there. What were the issues there?
Like I said, best practice, the way IT was run was not correct. Yes, there's always ways of running an IT ecosystem. And those things are defined. You go everywhere, whether you go to the bank or you go to any manufacturing industry or anywhere where IT is run, you'll find there are certain basic things that must be there, must be in place in order to run an IT enterprise that is functional. What I found was an IT enterprise that was dysfunctional. And I think it was because they were not, either they had not been exposed to what is best practice, or they didn't know it for one reason or another. And I don't know that leadership that was there, whether they'd come only from being students into the IT management, or they'd been exposed. I'm not sure, but that the lack of basic things that you require if you want to run an ICT enterprise or ICT ecosystem, all those things were not there. Yes.
I know only of euduroam, Wits Wi-Fi, Wits Guest, because I came here in 2021. So I don't know which ones they were using before. Before you introduced the euduroam, or what Wi-Fi were we using here?
No, we've always used our own internal Wi-Fi. When I arrived, we were in the process of implementing a network project putting a Cisco backbone, replacing the previously Avaya backbone. So we've always used that. The issue, in other words, if you are a student, you would have that access, you'll be given access, and you access your resources accordingly. The only difference which perhaps, and by the way, euduroam was also present, but I think it was not really marketed correctly for its purposes, which is something that I've taken personally because I understand what it means. Coming from a poor background, I know what it means for someone not to have enough data. I know what it means if someone is at home on a weekend and there's no Wi-Fi at home, but you still want to access your resources. It means you must either drive or get into a taxi and get to Wits in order for you to have access. So the idea of pushing onto euduroam in my world was to try and create an environment where students can utilize a platform that is available at any point. So far, I've managed to do it in airports. I'm currently in advanced conversations. I think we're with malls like Mall of Africa and probably about 24 malls, of which the people that own Mall of Africa, we've had conversations. We're agreeing. I think, if I'm not wrong, our first area that we're going to test is in Stellenbosch somewhere. And if that passes, one day you go to Mall of Africa and you're going to find euduroam there. And recently I've had conversations with the city of Johannesburg. The aim is to roll, and they're positive. We're actually on a process of doing a memorandum of understanding agreement, and the idea is to have euduroam rolled out in all libraries in Gauteng, starting with Johannesburg. Let's talk Johannesburg. All libraries in Johannesburg, all municipal, what they call them, community halls, and possibly in some hospitals as well. Yeah. The idea is you want a student to be within proximity of euduroam, because when you've got euduroam, you can access your Wits resources. You don't have to do anything complex as long as you know your username and password.
So, since you're talking about partnering with people who are owning Mall of Africa, seats of Joburg, to distribute euduroam in Joburg and in malls, people who own Mall of Africa, they do own other malls, which you are planning also to invade them.
About 24 of them. That's what I'm saying there. Our first site is actually in Stellenbosch. When I spoke to them first time, I focused on Mall of Africa because I knew it was at the center. You can imagine people from Disploat, people from Soweto, from Alex, people from Tembisa. They would love to utilize. I mean, most of you guys, I'm sure you go to Mall of Africa at some point. So you want to go in there and go and meet your friends and do your submission whilst you are there. You can imagine how nice it would be that you can go into a mall and do your submission instead of having to find Wi-Fi or buy data at home or something.
But say it will be tricky to go and do our assignments there unless if you speak with people who owns cafes there and restaurants to say, okay, if someone comes the student card, say I'm a student, give them like space in your cafe to do their work.
Maybe I didn't explain completely what it takes, because what we've discussed with them is they will create spaces where if you are going there specifically, you want to go and do your studies like you're saying, there are specific areas, but there will be access to euduroam in those areas. But you can also have access to euduroam even when you're sitting in a restaurant. Because if you go to the airport now, for example, you can sit and mug and bean. There'll still be euduroam. You can sit anywhere else, there'll still be euduroam. Yeah, as long as you are within the broadcasting environment, you can still have it.
The airport one, yes. I've used euduroam at the airport. Yeah. I was just going to see the airport. I wasn't traveling.
Right.
I was just going to see the airport.
And suddenly you came across euduroam. Yeah, it's something we implemented that last year.
Dr. Mpofu, one can say, why are you starting your focus here in Joburg to distribute Wi-Fi here in Joburg? why not starting in the villages, in the farmstead, in the rural areas, because that's where the real challenges are. If you go like in city of Ekurhuleni, I live from time to time in Ekurhuleni. The youth centers there, they have Wi-Fi. They have Ekurhuleni Wi-Fi. You just connect to the Wi-Fi, you accept the terms and conditions, you connect. They do have Wi-Fi. When you go to schools here in Ekurhuleni, they do have Wi-Fi. It's just that youth centers, they don't have Wi-Fi. Libraries, they do also have their own Ekurhuleni Wi-Fi. The question can be, why are we starting our focus here in Gauteng? Why not in deep rural areas, KZN, in Limpopo, in Freestata?
I come from KZN myself.
Yes.
I'm from Utrecht. Okay. And I have had discussions with the eThekwini municipality. But the purpose of starting in places like Gauteng or eThekwini municipality is because the infrastructure is already there. I hope you get what I mean.
Yes.
You are not going to start from scratch where you go into a rural setup where there's nothing. Sometimes there's not even Vodacom connection. There's not even MTN connection. So you want to go to a place. So the idea was driven by, rather start with what we would call quick wins, because the infrastructure is already there. Because when you now want to go to a rural area, for example, like you have expressed, you then need to make sure that there is coverage to start with. So the coverage could be whether Vodacom, or MTN, or Cell C, or Telkom. But then if that infrastructure does not exist, which means you need to partner with either Vodacom or MTN or any other sponsors who are prepared to put their skin in the game so that rural people can also get access. And I'm very cognizant of what you're saying. I've got most of my relatives actually in the rural areas, and they come from primary school, high school, so where there's no technology at all, and I understand where you're coming from. But the approach was quick wins where the infrastructure is already there.
I understand what you say. I did like my primary, bit of my high school in the rural areas, and I came here when I was in grade 10. Because of us not having resources and everything, Wi-Fi, I was using it fully time for the first time here in Gauteng. In my high school, we had Wi-Fi. Even now, they still have Wi-Fi. So, I'm thinking about other people like myself who have the same familiar backgrounds, who can't afford to buy data, and they do want to apply. Now they're in grade 12, they do want to apply to go to the university. The parents are both sitting at home, they're not working. At least if there was maybe a community center, a library in the village that has euduroam and they can use it for free, that would be dope. And some of us who are here in Gauteng studying at UJ, Wits, or maybe some are in UCT or Stellenbosch, when we go back home, the reality hit hard. Because now we don't have euduroam anymore. You just cancelled the data that you were giving us, and now we'll be sitting there not having access to internet.
Yes. You're hitting the nail on its head. And I'll give a practical example. I told you I come from a rural area myself. In my community, there's no one who has got Wi-Fi except myself. And you can guess what happens around this time up to December when people are applying. They come to my home to apply for vacancies in universities. They come to my home, the old people, I remember during COVID, when they were applying for, I think it was the 350.
Yes,
I helped them to apply at my home. So I understand very well what you're explaining. And I've got relatives that went up to grade 12 in rural schools where there's no Wi-Fi, there's no technology. I understand what it means for a child, a relative of mine, who gets a vacancy at Wits to study. What does that mean for someone who has never used a computer? What does that mean for someone who has never used an application? You come here, you're expected to be able to use your computer, to use Ulwazi. Can you imagine how many weeks or months it takes for that person to adjust compared to a person like maybe who grew up Johannesburg, everything, Wi-Fi is there. They know how to use technology. So I understand what you're explaining. That's why I'm saying you need some level of partnering that is required to create what you are describing. Because if I go to Newcastle, for example, and I say, I want you guys to put euduroam in all your libraries and all your community halls. Is it feasible? Yes, it is feasible. Does it cost them anything? No, it does not cost them anything. The question is, do they have the infrastructure for us to connect our euduroam? Because all that is required is configuring the access points so that you can broadcast euduroam, as long as the infrastructure is there. But if there's nothing, you start from scratch.
You, you're starting, say, in Stellenbosch, right? In the mall in Stellenbosch.
Yes, yeah, some malls somewhere in Stellenbosch, yes. Yeah. But it was the company that decided that they wanted to use that specific mall because there are a lot of students from Stellenbosch University that operate in that space. They wanted to see how this thing works, and then they will roll it out across.
You're starting there. You come here in Joburg, you start pushing the project, and you see like it's doing well the way you thought, or more than the way you thought. It has impact. Are you planning to take this idea to the presidency to say, okay, this is what we have done, and now we want to go deep in the rural areas, in the villages, to do the same thing? We want, because they, at least a person like myself, I had like a little bit of privileges there and there, and I really appreciate the opportunities I got. And in my school, in primary school, we had a guy, Mr. Villagaz. I don't know where he is today. He was an entrepreneur. He studied in that school and he became a very successful entrepreneur. I'll never forget him. And he came back to our school and he built a media lab. That's where for the first time I started using Wits, Excel, PowerPoint. So by the time when I came to varsity, I had a little bit of knowledge of the computer.
Yes.
But there are other learners there who don't touch the computer for their whole life. They come to see the computer and the laptop. They touch it for the first time here in the university. So when the project works and now you want to go to the rural areas, is there a plan to say, we are going to partner maybe with the president or ever minister of higher education or minister of basic education? We want to, in the libraries where there will be Wi-Fi, at least to have like computers that they are available for these learners to use them. I will make, for an example, a very practical example. You can find that OUTsurance, every year or 2 years, they change their computers. They buy new machines. All these companies, they change their computers. How about we go and ask for these machines and use them in the libraries, so that these students, whenever they want to do their schoolwork, they want to make research, those who want to apply can apply, those who want to use internet to make money or whatever, they can be able to have an access to, because internet, basically you can do almost everything if you have internet and you have the machines to use the internet.
Going back to your what is in my mind around euduroam, like I said, I mean, when I got here and discovered that there was euduroam, I was actually excited because I looked at it and thought this is an opportunity to actually assist people who come from poor backgrounds. Not putting euduroam at the airport. That's not the best thing that you think you can do, because poor people don't go to the airport to go to travel.
Yes,
Majority of cases, the students that want this thing, it must be in the library, it must be in the community hall, it must be in the rural area like you have described. So what is my aim? My aim, one day when I leave Wits, I want to leave Wits with euduroam in the entire country. That's my aim, because I know when there's euduroam in the entire country, every university student will be covered. 26 public universities, every student coming from there, any employee will be covered. When you talk about the rural setup which you're describing, I'm aligned with you. I think what is required is an opportunity for organizations out there, whether it's government entities, I don't know, I don't have access to. I mean, if you talk about presidents and stuff like that, I don't have access to that, but I suppose maybe the VC would have. But you would want this thing to be driven by people who have common interest. Because for me, the interest is not about what will I get out of it. There's no money that I'm going to get out of it. For me, the interest is it gives an opportunity for every student, whether they've got data or they don't have data, you are equalized because you've got access. Whether someone is at home, there's Wi-Fi, but I'm in a library, there's Wi-Fi, they know are covered. But the stuff that you're describing, for example, having laptops and those things in the libraries, remember libraries belong to, say, municipalities and stuff like that. So you need those organizations to put together a program that helps to alleviate these students, the challenge that these students face when they come into the library and they find that maybe there are no computers and there's not even euduroam in there. So you want, if I had an opportunity to speak to the president, I'm sure I would give them a plan that they would not ignore. Because when I started this, I didn't start this I just didn't go to City of Johannesburg. I presented my thoughts to the VC and he supported me. He gave me Mr. Kendall to connect me with the City of Johannesburg people, and that's how we started. The conversation started. I presented first to the idea was brought by the VC to spread the euduroam everywhere. Yeah, and if there's an opportunity one day, to speak to people that have got more power to make it happen, even in the rural areas, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind being given that project to say, right, I'm not interested in the money. I'm interested in making sure the platforms are there, whether you are creating platforms in the euduroam space for universities or simple platforms for accessing so that students can have access to computers and be literate enough before they come to university. Because I know what it means coming here at Wits, where you have not touched a computer at all. Your first 3 weeks, you're probably wondering, what is this now? How my life is going to be complicated. I'm sure those students that come here and meet and experience computers for the first time, they are disadvantaged by that. That alone is like you're starting 3 steps back. It's like running 100 meters and everyone else is 50 meters away and you start at the starting point. That's what it means as far as I'm concerned. So if I get an opportunity, someone is prepared to listen, like my VC did, I'm sure I would make them understand.
The VC has an access to the president.
I know, but I can't. I mean, he's got other things also that he prioritizes. I can't. I mean, he did support when I expressed my desire to roll out euduroam in the City of Johannesburg. He connected me with the right people, and today we're heading there.
I know euduroam uses, for you to access euduroam, to use the Wi-Fi, you need a student number,
correct,
and a password.
Yes.
So if
the same as the one you use when you are here at Wits, like yourself.
Yeah. So obviously, when I go to the airport, I don't need to put those things automatically. It connects.
Yeah. Because you connect once when you're at the airport, because remember the euduroam at the airport is not the same euduroam because it's different boxes. So once you connect once at the airport, you'll never need to connect again. That's it's like if you went to UCT today yourself, because you have euduroam, it will automatically give you the credentials, put your things, you log in. But once you log in, you're done.
I'm finishing school this year.
Yes.
Next year, I don't find a job, I'm not working, I'm busy applying for jobs, I'm trying to do things on the side to try and make money. I'm no longer a student.
Yes.
Would I still have an access to euduroam?
No.
Why? Because like I'm young, I'm disadvantaged, I got my degree, I'm unemployed, I'm trying to push things on the side to work.
Yes, I get what you're saying, but currently it is designed to assist the students, the lecturers, and the employees of the 26 public universities. For example, someone from Menkosa does not have access to euduroam, but only 26 public universities. So it's like if you left Wits and you're no longer a student, the same would apply to you because you're no longer part of the student. You're not viewed as someone who should be given access. You're outside the access group.
Which means kids in high school and primary school, if you are going to these townships, community centers, they won't have access to, it's only the student.
Yes. Remember, it's a big elephant, so you eat it in chunks. So originally, the idea is give access to all university students, 26 public universities. Now, what's the idea? If you are from Mlas and you are visiting, or you are at Mongasut University or UKZN, you're visiting me, and you will stay in Zola. You want to be able to go into the library Zola and have access. That was the idea. But I hear what you're talking about. You're now talking about, this is a primary school student, TVET college student. By the way, I think as we speak, we're now trying to engage the TVET so that we can do the same and give them an euduroam access. I'm sure soon it will happen. But what you are describing requires a totally different platform, because this is designed for higher education, because it's an international platform. It's not just a platform for South Africa. It's an international platform. If you go to airport in Amsterdam, or you go to Stanford University, you're going to find euduroam is there. Or London University, you're going to find euduroam is there. It's an international platform. So it was designed just for universities to start with, and in South Africa for the 26 public universities. But what you are asking is something that requires one to think in terms of getting partnership. Because some of these things, I think they work better with partnership. You want to get people who have interest in primary school education and high school education in the context of technology, and give those students an opportunity. Because you and I are sitting here now, and you gave an example of outsurance, I think, and you think, doesn't all these other people sell us laptops, IBM, Lenovo, HP, and others? Are they not aware of the fact of our scenario in the rural areas, for example? They do. They just need someone who has got, you need to have interest in these things. Maybe if I had no interest in euduroam, by the way, there possibly would not have been euduroam in airports by now, because I would have just continued with my work here at Wits, and that's it. But I was thinking in terms of people that deserve to be assisted, and it was for that reason that I did that. So we need partnership, in my opinion, particularly for the space you're describing, primary, high school, and even having laptops in libraries, because when you're having laptops in libraries, which means someone within the municipalities or people that own libraries have to be involved in that project. Yes.
I'm saying that because I believe if you have resources at a young age, you become I just need to use the following wording for some certain reason. You become smart, intelligent, and you not only equipped, but also you are moving with the rest of the world.
Yes.
You know how to use certain things, and when you get to the university, now it becomes equalized, whether you are from middle class family, whether you're from the elite ones, we all know how to use the resources. I might not be able to have my own laptop, but I can go to the library. I know how to. I'm not going to stag. I know how to maneuver around the internet. I can be able to use ULAs because I've been using these things for years. So that's the main reason why I'm also mentioning kids who are in high school and primary school. But it's okay if you're putting it that way.
Yeah. But remember, it is what you're saying is not something out of line. It's exactly how I feel. I wish I had resources. I mean, that's where I would start. I wish I had resources, because if I give you an example, I've got my son. I've got an 11-year-old son. My son can do coding. Of course, stuff that I did coding when I was in my 30s, but he can do coding at his age. Now, if one day he happens to be at Wits, if there will be Wits then, you can imagine he's not going to struggle with Ulwazi or
these are small things.
Yeah, or even connecting onto Wi-Fi. You're not going to ask IT guys to connect. He'll just see, okay, here's what is broadcast. He knows how to connect because he does it where at home. He's used to that. So I feel what you're describing, because I also come from a background that these things didn't exist, and if it wasn't for just managing to get educated, maybe I wouldn't have had the opportunity. But it's all about people out there that have got the willingness and desire to make a change. And you cannot make a change whilst you're sitting or whilst you are afraid of dealing with complex or difficult situations. Because it's not an easy thing to go and connect a rural place or area to connect them onto the internet. It has got costs. You require to be prepared to support, whether it's security, whether it's updating those computers that because you can't just dump computers and walk away. You need to participate. You need to be part of the game. That's why I was talking about putting the skin in the game. You can't just say, well, I'm going to donate 100 computers to a school and then you walk away. You've done nothing. You must be part of the process and support and until this thing becomes quite stable for everybody to benefit out of it. Because the idea in my world, it's to uplift those that are at the base and put them at the same level so that no one can say I'm disadvantaged. I give you a typical example. A child who comes here at Wits and is expected to use a computer and is expected to use Ulwas is disadvantaged. The fact that if they didn't do that, if they were not computer literate from home, they're disadvantaged already.
So COVID times, COVID hits in 2020.
Yes.
And now we are locked down, studying like remotely. Where was the idea to start rolling out data, and what are the measures that you took to make sure that succeed?
Look, there's one big thing. I don't know if you were aware of this. So I got here 2017, I think, yes. By the end of 2017, I was already writing a motivation for a smart classroom. I went to present it at the set of 2018 February. Yeah. And it was approved to put smart classrooms, one in the West Campus, East Campus, and one at the management school. What the concept of smart classroom was, you want a place where you can teach people who are sitting at home. Yeah. You get recorded. People can ask questions, they will pop up on a screen. And you know which student has asked what, and you can reply, and all of that is recorded. So I had that implemented by 2019, actually. The projects were done. But I'm not a Sangoma. I didn't know that there was going to be COVID. Mm. But it was just sometimes you have to just always think ahead of things. So COVID gets to us, and then that concept, you have to expand it now and think, well, besides, what are going to be the challenges? The first one was, you're going to have challenges with the data. Mm. And the second one was, because now you have to categorize. You think of student A may have a computer, but they may not have Wi-Fi at home. Mm. And student B may not have a computer, and they don't also have a Wi-Fi wherever, maybe in the rural areas.
Yes.
So immediately, one of the things, obviously, these approvals were done by SET VC and his team, Adam there. And I had to roll out, I can't remember if in numbers, probably 2,500 laptops that I had to send to all sorts of rural areas you can think of in the whole country. And I had to do that in 2 weeks. And I can tell you, I had guys here who used to go to bed around 2:30 in the morning, busy packing those laptops, because the following morning the post office people must pick them up, because we're using post office because they know rural areas. I mean, Eastern Cape, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, you can think of those areas where they to deliver to those selected students that definitely needed devices. So yeah, worked hard on devices, I had to have a lot of meetings with the mobile network operators, Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, and Telkom. I was involved in literally all the meetings to discuss about data, because I was also not representing only VETS, but I'm chair of HITA, which is an organization of CIOs of 26 public universities. So I was talking there in my capacity as chair of the 26 universities. And I also became part of Blade Nzimande's ministerial task team, so I had a lot of insight of things that we needed to put in place because of that.
I don't know which laptops you used in 2020. I finished matric in 2019, so 2020 I didn't get a space to go and study, so I was at home. But 2021, when I got here, I applied for the laptop. I got the laptop. I don't know which ones in 2020, but the ones in 2021, I don't know. What is it called? Mecca? What is it? That is
Mesa.
laptops.
Yeah. But
some of those laptops, like they were really faulty.
Okay. I wouldn't say that it's not possible. But let me start by going back to 2020. So the biggest challenge that I had in 2020 was, you remember when COVID happened, everything stopped in the entire world,
Yes.
including delivery of laptops. So I'm sure you can guess, when I started looking for laptops, I could not find, you can't go to a shop or to suppliers and you'd get them. They'll tell you, well, our ship didn't get here and everything is closed. So I bought laptops from all sorts of places. Massmart, I used to buy laptops at Game for this university. But obviously we would test them first. It's not like we just went and bought. We would look at the specs and then we would decide what needs to be bought. Yeah. So I can't rule out that. And first of all, I don't know whether you were getting brand new laptops or you were given laptops. Yeah, I was going to say you're possibly getting laptops that had come back from the original people that we had sent. Maybe they had finished, for example. So it's possible that you would have got a laptop that would have been damaged in one way or another. I can't rule that out. And yes, it is possible. And I take accountability for that, because at the end, if I'm giving a laptop to a student, it should be a laptop that is functional. So the laptops that are reissued, my team has a responsibility of checking them. So I take accountability if they did send some laptops that were still faulty in one way or another.
No, it's okay. Because of time, there's so many things I wish we can talk about.
I can give you time. Okay, we can talk. I'm not in a hurry.
Okay.
But there's a class at 2:15.
Okay, no, it's fine. You are a member of council, member of Cranfield College, board member of Chair NETA, which you highlighted. It's a higher education formation technology of South Africa, representing all 26 public universities in the country. You are a board member of Tenant Tertiary Education and Research Network of South Africa. You are a board member of PIC Forum, which is Public Secretary ICT Forum. You are a member of
Public Service, yeah.
You are a member of Institute of Chartered IT Professionals, member of the Ministerial Task Team for Higher Education, member of Institute of Director of South Africa, member of Global CIO Institute. Like all this, when I look at them, they all deal with ICT. Am I correct?
Yes.
So what and maybe trying to summarize all these boards that you are a member of, what do you do there?
Okay, maybe I should not have said yes. Maybe I should have said to you, partly ICT but partly governance, because being a board member means your role is not necessarily like operational ICT or running an ICT enterprise. It's more of a governance role, which is something which is a role that requires you to make sure that in terms of the operations of whether it's a company or what, it's done accordingly, following, say, King 4 governance models. Yeah, but the fact that I have an IT background perhaps helps in the sense that when we're talking technology, it's a space that I know very well. But I'm also very affair with governance. That's why I think you find myself in most of these governance structures.
On the higher education board, you are advising the higher education, or you just focus on the IT side?
You mean when I was in the task team, you're referring
Yes,
to that?
yes.
No, but that was only during COVID time. Not that I'm still a member now. No, I think we were disbanded after COVID or something. But yes, my role there was to give advice. We would meet with the minister and his deputy and his other DGs and others, and we'll discuss what needed to be done. And then they'll get my opinion, and others' opinions. So I wasn't the only one. There were few of us. Others were from some other industries as well.
Dr. Mpofu, once you have started, maybe when you are done with the malls and public libraries here in Joburg,
Community halls as well.
Yes, community halls. I would like to reflect, to sit with you, we reflect on the project and the impact that it will be like having at that time. So I hope you will make time to come and have a chat with us.
Always, I think it would not as a publicity stance, but more of trying to prove that the things you do sometimes must have an impact on people, because. In as much as I do not highlight the issue of putting euduroam in airports, but I can tell you the profs, people that travel through the airports, were actually very, very impressed with the fact that now they can. I had someone, I think I received an email of someone who was teaching sitting at the airport, or Artambo, I think, or something. But for me, it's I would literally want to share with you once, particularly because the malls one is ahead of the city of Johannesburg one, and I started conversations already with the eThekwini municipality. I just need to push them to some extent, but it's something that I would want to share with you, because perhaps one day you may know someone else who may have the same passion. My passion is not, like I said, it's not about money. My passion is actually to see people getting opportunities and creating that platform. Like I gave you an example. At my home, I'm the only one with Wi-Fi. I know that. Where people may have data here and there, villagers, but I'm talking about real Wi-Fi connected in my house. People come to my house for free. I allow them to apply, and I help them to apply. And I do that because I take it's my responsibility to assist those that are disadvantaged. Because I was once disadvantaged. Someone else assisted me to be sitting with you today.
In conclusion, sir, you are doing well in your life.
Who says that?
You are doing well. The fact that you are working, you are able to pitch certain ideas to some people and they buy into the ideas and are willing to be part of it's doing well. Obviously you have other ideas that you wish you could pitch, and for some certain reasons, maybe not having access to other people, you are not implementing them. But you are doing well in a case where there are so many people who have other ideas that could be implementing, and they don't have like people to approve, to support. Are doing well. Are you in your area, in your community, when you leave Joburg, you go back home? Are you doing projects that try to inspire the young ones, that try to address their disadvantages?
Yes, but not just the young ones. For example, I'll give you a typical example. So in my village, when I applied for electricity, I think it was 2017, when I finished building my home, 2017, I applied for electricity to ESCOM, and they said I must wait for the government project. They said, but I finished. They said, well, if you want, you pay and we'll put electricity. So they put electricity, I paid, and they put electricity in my home. I think I stayed probably 2 years, and people start coming to charge phones and stuff. That doesn't bother me. But what was bothering me was, I'm the only one with electricity here. This can't be right. So I approached the mayor then of Mandlange, and I said, I need us to work on applying for electricity for the village. They told, no, ESCOM will do this in 5 years. I said, no, wait, 5 years is too much. Let's push these people. I wrote the letter. I drafted the letter myself. When that delay, in the politics space, there's always some delays. So they delayed, and then I spoke to ESCOM. I used to work there, so it was easy for me to speak to people. And then they said, well, just organize villagers, put their details together. So I asked my neighbor, I think it was around September, because I'd given the mayor my letter around June, and by September nothing happened. 3 months later. So I spoke to my neighbor. I said, okay, you collect all the names, ID numbers of all the people that want electricity in their home. When I went back the following month, end of October, I think, got that, wrote a motivation to ESCOM on behalf of the community. And guess what? January of February, because I know I was away at that time. February, if I'm not wrong, 2021, end of 2021, electricity was rolled out, was installed in all those homes in my area. And I've got, sometimes I get friends, personal friends, that I've worked with in the industry. I'm talking personal friends that have helped some schools with two high schools who helped. My friends helped, and they bought them notebooks. And the same friend of mine also helped one school, bought them, I think, 67 or 66 chairs, because kids were sitting on top of tables. Yeah. So I do my best under the circumstances. Not that I don't have resources, so mostly I rely on my friends, and I give them the picture, and I don't even touch the money. I'm a guy who doesn't lie. I don't want to be close to the money. So I always, if it's a chairs, go and get a quotation. The principal goes, gets a quotation. I send it to the guy. He buys it, and they go and deliver. That's it. So that's the stuff I do. But I wish I had enough resources, and I wish I was connected to people who have resources. I would change the entire country in a very short space of time.
You remind me of Hlaudi Mutseni, but it's fine.
Oh, no.
You remind me of
But I'm talking practical things that I've done. Yeah. When after this meeting, I want you to listen to one of my audios. I'll explain what it is.
Yeah, you're right, Murphy. By the way, I did an interview with him. He loves me. I was speaking with him like 3 or a month ago. He called me. He's a great man. I'm one of the people who are his disciples. I believe in his ideas and everything.
I don't know. I want to read about him.
Local content, local content, like ideas. I believe in a lot of his ideas. So, Dr. Mpofu, thank you so much, sir, for making time to talk to us. There's so many things that you could be doing. Your schedule is very tight, but you chose to sit with us. You're a bunch of nobodies, or just a bunch of students.
I wanted to change that attitude. You see, for me, and I tell you, you can ask people in IT, I tell them this. At work, the only difference, the only reason I'm called CIO is because I've got more responsibilities and delegation. But it makes no difference with whether it's a cleaner or someone low somewhere. Well, the first thing is, you must always remember this: we're human beings first. If you remember that we're human beings, then these categories are just done by the environment in which. If I drive out now, out of Wits, as I get out of Solomon Mahlang building, am I a CIO? I'm not. Just another human being driving his car. So we're human beings first. So don't think you are low or lead through. I don't believe those things.
Thank you so much. Hlaudi Mutseni said the same thing exactly. I'm sure, but he said to us like, no, I don't believe in that. As long as you are doing something, you have a passion and desire, I'm willing to support in any possible way I can. That's his way. It was like, I wish the SABC can empower you guys and everything. Yes. But sir, thank you so much, Dr. Mpofu, for making time to talk to us. And we wish you all the best in the project that you are busy with and other projects that you're planning to be doing. And we hope that things will go well and everything will be successful. Thank you so much.
I appreciate your time as well. And it was nice to sit in these glorious environments and talk to you.
Thank you very much.